I feel in the face of all the problems in the world impotent, and why I somehow cannot manage to transform I. Now here we get to the real problem, because we're always telling each other that we should be different. Now I'm not going to tell you that tonight. Why not? Because I know you can't. Nor can I. That may sound depressing, but I'll show you it isn't. It's very hard. But everybody, you see, who is at all sensitive and awake to their own problems and human problems is trying to change himself. We know we can't change the world unless we change ourselves.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's live stream. Goodness gracious, what an odd month it has been indeed. I won't need anything on the live stream today, so I'm just going to go ahead and record the idea, shall we? So, as some of you already know by looking at the spreadsheet of my trade history, my win rate is less than 50%. However, I do hold a 4-to-1 profit ratio. And goodness gracious, I certainly did get the wrong read on this chart today. Or not even just today, but the entire last month. We had a lot of active mean inversion conditions on the shorter time frames, and I've already have those periods loaded up. Actually, I need to adjust the 160. Give me a second. Okay. So we had two active downward-facing mean inversion conditions, and let's load volume candles as well. Okay. Yeah, now we have consistently increasing green volume. I want to look at an on-balance volume. I know I don't recommend using one, but just for the sake of oscillated volume readings. Huh. Goodness. I genuinely expected a higher high on the on-balance volume. Wow, it's been a while since I've loaded up this tool, but I'm assuming it's this large red sell-off from the Tether FUD, and let me use the aggregated price to actually take a look at volume, because my volume analysis is pretty infrequent. Okay, yeah, when we take the moment to load it up on every exchange, on-balance volume resistance has been broken. Okay, so that was worth checking, and guys, if you ever want to use volume readings, be sure to use an aggregate ticker, like what I have drawn in here. I add up 4 different exchanges and divide them by 4. It's a courtesy of a cat with charts. He wrote that. I mean, it's a single line of text, but still, it's super useful and something not enough people do. Anyway, we had this super well-respected mean reversion pivot. And then as soon as we enter it, we see a huge red candle, and I take that as a short signal, right? Because it implies we need to revert to this mean here, right? So instead, price decides to trend upwards, and okay, that's fine. One of the tenets of mean reversion is wait for a CCI roll of 1/10 of the period to actually gain entry into the mean reversion position by using trend. Right? Essentially, looking for that CCI roll attempts to capture the swing high of trend for the mean inversion condition to complete. So then, we also had the overexpanded plume of mass here that went up to the 160 period, right? And we decided, well, that's very similar to the 1/10 value, so it makes perfect sense just to use those together, and they were very similar pivots, so we actually had a lot of downward-facing mean inversion force here. Right, so we had an active mean inversion condition at this location, which also tied into the long-term mean inversion of this location. And then we saw the higher high. And when we saw the higher high, it got dangerously close to invalidating the condition, right? And when you have these kinds of positions, let's zoom into this so we can actually take a look at what my exact entries were, okay? because we also used one more band, and I'm going to change the 1050 to just a 16, right? Because we can use the 16 period CCI roll to gain access or entry into the longer mean reversion condition, right? So our short positions are as follows. Right, we activated the mean reversion condition for the 160 at this location, so we took a short here because we expect reversion to this mean. Next up, price decides to go up again, so we take a short position here, expecting reversion to this mean, and I was not able to take profit on that because, well, it just didn't get far enough. And lo and behold, we actually get upward expansion, and this is something I did not pay attention to. That's my fault. Let's take a look at it right here. Our longest overexpanded period, right, the 160, had actually sufficiently shed mass to allow for the resumption of trend. And one of the important notes of mean reversion conditions is price will trade laterally as defined by the longest overexpanded period as long as its wave PM reading reads above the 0.7 value. So at this location, this candle price, the 160 wave PM reading does in fact go below the 0.7 value. So in fact, wow, hold on, are you seeing that? Let's draw a vertical line at the exact location, right there. So on this candle, right on the 8th at midnight, so let's put our mouse right there. So exactly at this location, trend could theoretically resume. However, I decided to prioritize the longer term mean reversion condition simply because it's more reliable, and well, mean reversions not completing are still a rare occurrence. So lo and behold, trend resumed. And then, when we actually saw the second higher high at this location, that was pretty much where the general consensus, excuse me, something in my throat. That was the general consensus that the trend was moving to a parabola. And, well, I'll be honest, you don't really want to bet against parabolas. Not until you have some kind of bearish confirmation. So that brings us to the title of this video, Do Nothing. I mean, we have this huge bearish order block, but we also have the rapid upward acceleration of price. And there is... Hold on, I have a good idea. Oh, I did it the other day. How do I... No. I know how to do it. I swear to God. No, okay. Never mind. I know an easier fix. Give me 1 second. Because this will probably give you some perspective. We can do USDT BTC. Okay. There we go. Because this gives you some pretty nice perspective. Okay. Sometimes, if you don't know what you're doing, or rather, that's not quite the right phrase. Sometimes, if you're concerned about what's happening and you don't quite know what to do, you can look at the following information. Just inverse the chart, flip it upside down. And think about this. Would you buy this candle in a downtrend? Probably not. Right, you have true trend. This is officially a trend. And we can actually define, mean reversion pivots for the downside quite successfully on the 120 period here. So, get a load of this. So this new upward expansion is generated. Okay. And now you can see why this screwed me over. So when we get an active mean reversion condition, it implies reversion to its relative mean, right? And we actually activated the mean reversion condition at this location, and yet trend still continued. It's a really rare occurrence. So what do? We stopped out of the trade. That's good news. However, this is where trading, the most important skill of trading, comes in. Risk management and hedge positions. May I present to you Exhibit A, Litecoin. Goodness gracious. Well, it's pretty well accepted that altcoins perform poorly during periods of extreme price volatility on Bitcoin. So all we had to do was find an active mean reversion condition like we did here on this chart, where our longest overextended period was 220. Right, so let's draw the 220 period. Okay. That's correct. Is that really 220? I don't believe it. That is 220. Wow, this trend has really taken off. I'm happy with that. Anyway, when we re-entered this BEM, it implied we would revert to this relative mean. And we know if price volatility is going to be high in Bitcoin, then it just further confirms the position. So, luckily I am hedged in this position, and I've just about broken even this week thanks to this. And then let's actually talk about defining an entry for Bitcoin, because it's going to be difficult. Everybody's expecting a short here, aren't they? And the question is just what level of bull euphoria are we going to get? I'm pretty sure they're pretty euphoric already. It's really no doubt about that. Everybody's talking about this big ol' resistance line right here. However, I'm not inclined to really respect those kinds of pivots. We can also define this on the 7D period 3D wave PM reading. Although, if I'm being honest, it's going to give a pretty similar result. Although, we can still use the same mean reversion pivot. It isn't changing. I knew it. God damn it. I have to switch it back to custom. Okay. So, in theory, we can get short re-entry when we enter this band here. Okay? Bitcoin might taper off. Who knows? I don't. Doing nothing is a very safe idea until we get some kind of bearish confirmation at this point. Okay? Yeah, sometimes it seems like the safest thing to do is just wash your hands and tether out. But because of the nature of Bitcoin, doing that is actually a position in and of itself. Because when you switch to a stable coin, right, and you get this kind of drawdown, like, oh, it's not worth trading right now, there's too high of a risk, and then Bitcoin jumps 18%, you just lost 18% of your Satoshi value, right? I mean, you didn't lose any money. But even doing the safest thing possible still carries great risk, and I am going to say that's one of the true downsides of trading crypto. Like, in theory, you can do half Bitcoin, half Tether to try to minimize it. But really, guys, I'm trying to predict this euphoric bull candle. It's been pretty ridiculous. I definitely failed on that front this month. But there is always next month. And again, the amount of money I actually lost during this period was shockingly small. It's just my Bitcoin value that got hurt. So, always another day to trade. And would you rather complain about missing out on money? Or would you rather complain about losing money because you didn't take the safe option? Hi, Big. Yeah, as far as advice for people who are a fully stable coin right now, at this point, you would not enter a long here, just like when we saw the opposite. When you see these extreme values, the only way I would actually genuinely recommend a short is if we tagged the 3.2 standard deviation at around $7,000, but I don't necessarily see us making higher highs. Then again, it is a parabola, so what do I know? TA is going to provide us very little predictive value at this time, and that is totally okay to say. Attempting to actually come up with an opinion on a move, I'm going to stay away from saying manipulation, right? It's kind of a thing, right? Never am going to complain about manipulation on this channel, right? I will say, though, that the information provided to us simply wasn't enough to, well, for me to form an accurate opinion. So, 3.2 standard deviation tag would provide good short entry. Right, and there's actually only been one. They're really rare events, at least in bearish trends, where if you actually have significant mass on the 50 period, like at this location, and then you get the tag, here as well. Both of these examples provide good short entries. But the actual risk to reward right now is awful. All right, if you were to take a long position here, what would your target be? What reasonable target can you set? That's exactly why I think this is just a euphoric mess. Because what realistic target can we set based on previous price action? Other than higher highs, and that is the very definition of euphoria. Yeah, patience is really going to help you out here, guys. You know, retest of previous low values still in the playing cards, mostly because we haven't seen a full period of compression on the weekly chart. So let's load up the BLX. Okay. What really gets me, yeah, there's actually a little pony here. Somebody pointed this out. Actually, one could say that this chart is bullish. Okay. So, if we have these two crash patterns and they play out side by side exactly the same, run up, test, run up, test. Why would, after a year and a half of parallel price action, would we expect for price to run up and test the 50 moving average like it did here again? And then finally, yes, certainly, this is going to be the place where Bitcoin finally diverges from its previous fractal. Right? If we've been playing on the same pattern day by day by day, week by week, over a year and a half, playing all the same moves, respecting the same benchmarks, why would at this location price finally decided to diverge? Right? That's why we were so short heavy this week. These last few weeks, I suppose. It wasn't reasonable to bet against macro level benchmarks. So what do? We stopped out. And now, I do need to point out, last time we broke up above the weekly 50 was this location. And that did end up quite euphoric. So, Christ, that's like, this range is just insane. Very few thoughts and recommendations at this time. Okay. Chart's a mess. We have this huge bearish order block, and yet price is still being pushed upwards. Also, I have 25 seconds left. I was going to talk about the Tether fiasco, but I am out of time. It has been a pleasure training you folks. I'll see you later. All right, folks. Ask me questions. Let me go through the comments here. Great Day says, thank you for the update. I'm at work right now. We'll watch later. Any news on ADA, Litecoin, and Ethereum? Yeah, they're all in downtrends. They're all in strong, active downtrends, and you should look for the first short entry available to you. And those are all just going to be in the form of CCI rolls. All right, let's screw it. Let's just make these alerts. Goddamn Curva has been shorting all the way over here. My God, like this is where we started shorting Litecoin, the same place where you had the uptrend, the mean inversion pivot was crossed, and then we saw the beginning of the downtrend. Like concerning Litecoin, it's the same scenario. We're getting that same position. And I actually might just reshort here on Litecoin, just add to the position. Like, screw trying to short Bitcoin. Like, this is where it's at, apparently. Although we are awfully close to 3.2, I might not actively enter the position until, of course, we get the CCI roll down, which would provide better entry into trend. And, of course, we're going to check Ethereum as well. BTC chart is just flat noise straight across. I know the Bitcoin chart is going to be, or the FBTC chart is going to be actively downtrend, and that at least we'll be able to bet on. Yeah, we were looking to take a short here, but we would have needed a 7% stop loss, so avoided that for the short term. You know, we have all these active downtrends. You just want to look for short entries. All right, as Bitcoin dominance continues to rise, we will be provided with more of these opportunities. Okay. I'm also going to do a quick check on KMD because that's an active call. I know the mean inversion condition is active. Okay, I'm just going to type it. KMD. Okay, retesting previous lows. To my understanding, it got rejected from the weekly 50 moving average, which was this value. It shared the 200. Yeah, weekly 50 smacked it down. We're retesting previous lows. Mean inversion condition and the targets are still active for all of you in it. Okay. Litecoin short's also still active. So, oh yeah, we're gonna try something on Zen. Tommy Tom asks, what if something is wrong with the economy and big institutions hedging into Bitcoin? Would it be possible to start the next bull run and make significant higher highs without enough compression? It would require an excessive amount of force, and institutional investors are capable of applying excessive amounts of force. So, yeah, in theory, it's possible. I just consider it less probable than the alternative. Okay, this is an interesting chart. I'm not getting the right resolution. Looking for something in between to clear out the noise, yet still provide accurate readings. Yeah, see how we have all this volatility overhead from the previous trends? Like, you want to find the balance between where it's connected, yet still accurate to define each its own. You know, we just have straight, every single period is lined up above the 0.9 value. It's pretty ridiculous. Although, in theory, expansion is still technically possible. Period's on the 200, so let's check that out. Oh my god, we're right on top of that mean inversion pivot. We can actually set up a trade here. Team JR Rocks, why do you always wait for live stream to eat? Dude, I just always snack. I'm actually not eating anything right now. I mean, I can get some food if you want me to. But we can actually set this up as like a 4% stop loss, and then you just do 2 to 1. 10% upside maybe. Okay. Yeah, we can actually expect... It's risky, but it's possible. Yeah, we haven't entered the mean inversion pivot, so this is still technically in a state of trend. Let's call it. Okay. I am bulking. Thank you, Big Blue. That's correct. I'm desperately trying to put on weight. Gotta eat big to get big. You know, I'm not convinced I should add even a higher target. We're probably just going to see a short-term bounce on this. So, probably just going to do that. Hey now. Yo, Pen. Big Blue wasn't out of line. I'm totally okay with people asking questions like that. Sorry, Big Blue. Pen, a little less aggressive on the mod. Thank you, my dude. Okay. I'm just going to chart it. Let's do it. Sure, we'll add a second higher high just in case. And I need to switch scale to left. So I can see what numbers I'm actually typing in. Zen. Trade call. I'm going to take a look at, copy and paste this one. Okay. So we're going to do a buy-in of 1633 to 1710. Stop loss is going to be 1613. And I wish I could use my numpad, but it's where I keep all my live stream hotkeys. So that's why I'm taking so long. 1828, comma 1948 should be good. Expect a call 2 days to 1 week. That's good. Risk is medium high. Call strength is medium low. I love it. Publish private idea. Yeah, man. That 9% drawdown while trend is still intact. Fuck, is it already going out of the buy zone? Son of a bitch. Okay. I might just end the stream so I can post this. Okay. Yeah, I need to get this trade out as soon as possible. So I'm going to talk to you folks later. Have fun. Be good.